Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Brad Lone Wolf, and welcome back to another bushcraft video in the outdoors for once. I say for once, I've done the last few outdoors now. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make some charcloth. Now, charcloth is essentially the same as charcoal in that it's wood that is baked without oxygen, cooked without oxygen, which reduces it down to pretty much nothing but carbon. Now, with that, with that being said, once you can use it to catch a spark, to ignite a fire and get a fire going. It doesn't burn as such. It glows. It glows as an ember, which you then blow some oxygen through and in your tinder, and you'll get a flame. Hopefully I'll be able to show you what that looks like at the end of this video, but we'll have to wait and see. So, what do you need to create charcloth? Well, first of all, you need some cloth. Now in this case, this is terry towel or terry cloth, same stuff that you get for your bathroom, as in a normal bath towel. I haven't used this to create charcloth, so it's going to be an interesting experiment to see whether it actually works or not. Now, you might have noticed that this edge here is frayed. That's because I actually started trying to make some charcloth not long ago using this stuff. However, the amount of smoke that came off of the cloth whilst it was cooking was unbearable, to the point where I couldn't carry on any longer, which is partly why I'm out here rather than doing this in the back garden, so that partly so that the neighbours don't call the fire brigade. So you got your cloth, which in this case, like I say, is terry towel or terry cloth, but you can use denim or linen as well, I think. But as long as it's 100% cotton and contains no synthetic materials. The other thing that you're going to need is some sort of sealable tin. Now, I have here a Lion's Golden Syrup tin, and as you can see, I've used it in the past. Now, when I bought this, I thought I was buying the 454 gram tin, or the £1 tin, but no, I ended up with the 907 gram tin, or the £2 tin, which I had to laugh at the time because I only wanted the small one. But the fact that I've got the bigger one doesn't really make a difference. It means I can do more at once. You'll notice that the lid isn't on this right now, and that is because you have to put a hole. You can see just there. You have to put a hole in the lid. Now that hole is important because although this is burning without oxygen, you still need to release the volatile gases that are on the inside to turn the charcloth, to turn the cloth into charcloth. So I'm going to prepare the cloth now because I can't stick it in like that. It just won't work. I need to cut it up into pieces about that size, so 2 inches 50 centimeters, something like that, and then they're going to go on the inside of the tin, laid on top of each other. Might as well pop that in as well. Any other bits? No. So I know, oh no, everybody panic, he's got a knife and he's in public. I wonder why that would be, Mr. Policeman Officer. A bit too big. Let's take the label off it first of all. I really don't need that. So if I remember when I'm editing the video, those people that don't want to see the prep and just want to see the actual start to cook, I will put a I'll put a time index, whatever it's called, at the bottom of the screen here. So I am doing this for a particular reason. It's not just for the video's sake. I am actually creating some basic fire lighting kits for a show that I'm going to be attending in a few weeks. It's not a specific bushcraft or outdoor show, but it is a show where I can hopefully sell some kit, and this will be part of it. If I do it well enough. Now, the reason that I bought white towels in particular is so that I can judge how well they are cooked at the end of, or basically to what I think is correct. Doesn't really matter what colour you use, but white is the best in this case, because you can see how cooked it is, how charred it is. Obviously different colours give you different impressions of that. Right, if I finish this off, it should be just enough, and then I can put the ever so dangerous blade away, you know, in the public. Carrying a knife in public, why is he doing that? He's doing that for a very good reason, sir. If you care to open your eyes and use what little brain power you have, you might understand. Actually, that's not very fair, and that's not very nice of me. Way too small. I'll still use it, but that's way too small. So you might be asking, whilst I cut the last couple of bits, what am I going to use to heat the cloth? Well, I did initially want to do this with an open fire. However, with the weather we've been having recently, which in this case is typical British summer, so it's been raining for the most part, I've decided against an open fire, but mainly because I don't want to be battling to keep a fire going and to keep an eye on my charcloth. So I have once again broken out the Camp Bistro, which you can't see right now, but I will be tilting the camera down so that you can see it. And yes, in this case it is the proper Camp Bistro and not the folding camping stove that I did a review on a few weeks ago. I still don't know what to do with that, to be honest. I don't really want to throw it away, but that's not for this video. Anyway, so for those people that have skipped ahead, this is what I'm going to be doing what I'm going to be cooking the charcloth over. It is the Camp Bistro. As I was just saying, I decided against an open fire mainly because of the recent weather. I don't particularly want to be battling to keep a fire going and to keep an eye on the charcloth as it cooks. So the gas stove is, although it's not the best option in terms of the way it looks, it's going to be the best option in terms of time and weather. It also doesn't help that where I am right now, people do walk their dogs, so I've got to be not crafty as such, but I've got to be a little bit wary. But anyway, that's that started. Okay, so this process now should, in theory, should take between 15 and 20 minutes depending on how quickly it cooks. I am going to speed up the footage and to where the tin starts smoking, and hopefully where we get some flame coming out of the small hole in the top, which is what we want, which, if you can't see it, is just there. But we do have to heat it on through, have to heat the tin through. Hopefully it should start giving us some smoke in a few seconds. Alright, hopefully you can see that. There is smoke starting to come out of that vent hole now. And yes, it has started raining as well. There's also been a slight bit of a wind coming across, which is why I put my bag there, just as a bit of a windshield. Now, this smoke coming out is exactly what we want. It's going to get thicker and thicker and thicker as time goes on, to the point where it may even self-ignite. If it self-ignites, that's not a problem. In fact, it's a good thing, because it means oxygen definitely isn't in there anymore. But we've got to keep heating the charcloth, I mean, to the point where this smoke is no longer coming out, or there is no flame. So again, I will either speed up the footage from here, or I will pause the footage until the point where it is just about cooked, hopefully. So yeah. Okay, so you can see the thick plumes of smoke coming out of that vent hole now. Now this is exactly what we want. We're going to leave this cooking now. We're going to leave this heating now until that smoke essentially completely stops. Once that smoke stops, it tells me that anything that isn't carbon has been heated off, has been burned off effectively, leaving just what's left of carbon in the tin in terms of the char cloth. Still a couple of processes to go once the smoke has stopped, though. They're not hard processes, and it is why I have a stick that I've been pointing at the tin with in this part of the video. And that is so that when the char cloth, or when I think the char cloth is ready, I'm going to wedge this stick into the hole there to stop any oxygen getting in, and then I'm going to turn the stove off and take the tin off of the heat so that it effectively stops heating. I don't know why I keep saying cooking. Okay, so that is the smoke just about stopped coming out of the tin. So I'm now going to block that hole as best I can, turn off the stove, take the tin off the stove itself, put it to one side, and then let it cool down. Now, with luck, I've created Charcloth. If not, I've either got something that's either undercooked and will need further cooking, or I'll just have a complete pile of ash in there, and we will find out in a few minutes once the tin has cooled down. So I will be back in a second. Okay, so I've waited until the tin is cool enough to actually handle after coming off of the stove. So now it's the moment of truth. I've either got perfectly formed charcloth, something that's undercooked, or a pile of ash. We're about to find out which. Undercooked. How can I tell that it's undercooked? Well, if you have a look, the cloth itself still yellow and white, which means it probably didn't heat up enough. In fact, it's still smoking at the bottom there, which means this cloth did not heat up enough to get rid of all the carbon. Now, that could be a number of reasons for that. It could be that I didn't leave it on the stove long enough, which is probably number one reason, or the stove didn't get quite hot enough to cause pyrolysis in the tin itself, which is the act of cooking without the act of heating without oxygen. Now, as I say, this batch is being done for a show that I'm going to be attending in a few weeks, so I am going to have to redo this, but not redo it. I'm going to have to heat this cloth up again to hopefully create charcloth. I'll come back and I will actually do that at the end of this video. So this isn't going to be the end of the video. I'm actually going to add more onto this, and hopefully you'll see the end result. Now, with the stove not getting hot enough, as I expect it's not getting hot enough, I will probably have to build a fire, which that's not a problem, but it just means I'm going to have to wait for a bit of a drier day. So for you it's going to be a few seconds, but for me it could be anything up to 2 weeks. So I will see you when I see you. Hello everybody, as promised I'm back for the second half of this video where I'm trying to create, well, I'm not trying to, I am creating some charcloth. Now, you've obviously just seen the first part of this video where I was trying to create some charcloth. This is the second part. The first part, if you watched it through, you'll know didn't go so well, as the volume of air and the heat inside the can weren't good enough to create pyrolysis, which is the way we get charcoal and charcloth. So I've come back a few days later, and you've probably seen it down in the bottom there. I've got a fire going. I'm gonna let it burn for a little bit, and then I'm going to put the tin in, and hopefully there'll be enough heat and the fire will go up the sides long enough to create that pyrolysis. The only thing I've got to do is I've just got to wait for a good fire to be established, which won't take long now, and then I can stick the tin in and get on with the charcloth. Now for you it's going to be a few seconds, for me it's going to be a little while. I'm going to guess about 10 minutes. So obviously I'm going to pause the video here and I'm going to come back when I start the process to create charcloth. So I'll see you in a second. Okay, so as you can see, I've got my fire going and it's at the point now where I think it's going to be pretty good to get the heat up into the tin to create the charcloth. So I'll make sure it's sealed and in it goes. So I'm going to make sure that the coals, that everything is built up around the tin, so as much heat as possible goes into the tin itself for that pyrolysis. So, and of course I will keep an eye on this as it goes along, because what I want is smoke coming out of this vent hole, which it already is, but it needs to come out in quite thick waves. So I will be putting more fuel on as we go along to try and keep that heat up and keep the smoke going out. Now normally you wouldn't want much flames coming out of a fire like this, but that's normally to cook with and for personal heating purposes. Smoke gets in my face, but that's the wind. So yes, as of right now, I'll keep the camera going, I'll keep the filming going, but I will probably speed it up to the point where the fire itself has burnt down, but the smoke coming out of the vent hole is what we want. And whilst that happens, I am also going to create myself a little bung from a stick like I did before, so that when it comes to taking the tin off the fire, I can stop oxygen getting in. Oh, that only took a few seconds. That is the type of smoke that we want coming out of it. We just need to make sure that no oxygen gets in now. You will have seen flame coming out of the vent hole. I'm not too worried about that, because if there's flame coming out, it means oxygen can't get in. Okie dokie, so I've moved the camera position and well, I'm about to open up the tin and see what we've got. We've either got, it's going to go one of two ways. We've either got undercooked charcloth, in which case I'm going to have to put it back on the fire, or we've got overcooked charcloth, in which case I'm going to have to start the whole process all over again. So that's good enough, cool enough. Oh no, it's a dangerous man with a fixed blade knife. What are we going to do, Mr. Policeman Officer? Well, young constable, nothing, because he's quite clearly doing something with it. Oh yeah, yep. So we have got in there perfect charcloth. Let's pull this out. Still a little bit warm, but if the top piece is perfect, then the rest of it should be as well. So put the tin to one side. So obviously it's going to be black because it's charred, but what we're also looking for, that might have gone a little bit too long, but that's okay. What we're looking for is that it pulls apart easily, and there's virtually no resistance. So this one might be just a little bit overdone. I don't know if you can see it there, but it started burning in the center there. Yeah, so it might be a little bit overdone, but I caught it just in time. So let's go through, let's check all of these. Let's check all these pieces, and then I'll show you how you know whether you've got decent charcloth or not. That's okay, that's okay. That one I'm going to keep to one side. Yeah, that's good. That one I'm going to check. Yep, that's fine. So it pulls apart nice and easily, very little resistance. Yep. That's too small. Yeah. Well, I said that one's too small. It's too small to go in the firelighting tins that I'm creating. Yep, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine as well. I'm only putting it back in the tin so I know where it is. That's fine. That's fine as well. Almost didn't feel like it that time. Right, so in terms of knowing whether you've got decent charcloth or not, charcloth does not burn, it smoulders. It's an ember, acts like an ember. So it will glow, it will glow, it won't burn as such, it just acts as an ember that you can then use for to create your fire. So if I blow onto that, you can see that the ember is glowing. And what you would do is you would put that in with your tinder, such as dry grass or whatever you're using as timber, and you would then blow oxygen onto it to create your better ember. Yep. So you should have been able to see that. Charcloth, depending on how good the cloth itself is, will burn for either from a few minutes up to a few hours. depending on A, how much carbon is actually in there, and B, how big the piece is. So yeah, if I had some proper, yeah, so obviously, like I say, you can see how that works. Now the idea, obviously I've used a lighter, but you can use Fire Striker to land Ember on there and get your tinder going, or get the Charcloth going. So yes, I hope that helps. I hope that was relatively entertaining, if nothing else. You now know how to create Charcloth. If you want to do your own, obviously I would recommend that you get a tin. If you can get the smaller tin of this, then it's probably better, because it means you can certainly create Charcloth quicker. But yes, by all means, go ahead, try and create your own Charcloth. It is always good to have something like that in your fire lighting kit. And yeah, you don't, like, as I say, you don't have to use terry towel. Most people use denim, or either a slab of cotton or a slab of linen, and do exactly the same thing. You can also do exactly the same with charcoal. You just need to use wood instead of cloth. So yes, hopefully you found that entertaining. Hopefully you learned something, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.